The Time Traveler's Dilemma. Jack was an ordinary man with a curious mind. He worked in a small town as a librarian, spending his days surrounded by books. He loved reading about history and imagining what life was like in the past. One rainy afternoon, while organizing the shelves in the back of the library, Jack discovered something unusual, a dusty, old box hidden behind a row of books. It was heavy, and when he opened it, he found a strange device inside. The device looked like an old-fashioned clock, but with extra dials and buttons that Jack didn't understand. As he examined it, he noticed a small note tucked inside the box. The note read, "Time machine use with caution." Jack's heart raced. Could this be real? Could he actually travel through time? Excitement filled his mind. The possibilities were endless. He had always dreamed of visiting the past, and now, with this strange machine, he might be able to make that dream come true. Jack hesitated for a moment, then decided to try it. He carefully pressed a few buttons, set a date to the year 1900, and suddenly the room around him began to spin. When the spinning stopped, Jack found himself standing on a cobblestone street. The air smelled different, and the buildings looked older. He had done it. He had traveled back in time. He wandered around in awe, looking at the horse-drawn carriages and the old-fashioned clothing people wore. Everything was perfect. But Jack knew he couldn't stay too long. He quickly returned to the spot where he had appeared and pressed the button to go back to the present. The spinning sensation returned, and soon he was back in the library. However, when Jack stepped outside, something felt strange. His street looked a little different, and when he reached his house, he noticed that his favorite tree, which used to stand tall in the front yard, was gone. Confused, Jack wondered if his trip to the past had changed something in the present. Jack tried to brush off his worries, but the more he looked around, the more things seemed out of place. Little details that he had never thought much about were now different. The coffee shop he visited every morning had a new owner, and the street signs in his neighborhood had changed slightly. He began to wonder if his short trip to the past had caused these changes. Still, Jack's curiosity pushed him to try again. Maybe if I go back and fix something, things will return to normal, he thought. He took out the time machine and set it for a new date, this time traveling back to when he was a teenager. He thought about all the mistakes he had made back then. Maybe he could change one small thing and improve his life today. When he arrived in the past, Jack saw his younger self sitting on a park bench, looking nervous before a big test. Jack remembered how stressed he had been and how he had failed that exam. If I can give him some advice, maybe his future will be better, Jack thought. So he approached his younger self and told him, "You'll do great on the test. Just stay calm and believe in yourself." Young Jack smiled, feeling more confident. Jack returned to the present, feeling proud of himself. But when he walked back into his house, he noticed something shocking. The photos on his walls were different. Instead of pictures of him and his friends from school, there were unfamiliar faces. He had never met these people before. Panic set in as he realized that his small change in the past had completely altered his life. Jack's mind raced. What have I done, he thought. He rushed back to the library, grabbed the time machine, and traveled back again, this time to undo what he had changed. He found his younger self once more and stopped himself from giving any advice. Then he returned to the present, hoping everything would go back to normal. When Jack arrived home again, things seemed familiar. His old friends were in the photos, and the tree in his front yard had returned. Relieved, Jack sat down and thought about what had happened. He realized that even the smallest actions in the past had serious consequences in the present. Over the next few days, Jack found himself thinking deeply about time and the choices we make. He had thought that traveling through time would be fun and exciting, but instead it had shown him how delicate life was. Each moment, each decision created ripples that spread far beyond what he could see. Jack understood now that he couldn't change the past without affecting the present in ways he couldn't control. One evening, as Jack sat by the window watching the sunset, he held the time machine in his hand. He thought about all the times he had wished he could go back and fix something, a mistake at work, a missed opportunity, or a wrong choice. But now he saw things differently. The present, he realized, was precious because it was shaped by all those moments. The good and the bad had brought him to where he was today. And even though things weren't perfect, he knew that he had to accept them and learn from them. Jack smiled to himself, feeling more at peace than he had in a long time. The next day, Jack took the time machine back to the library. He carefully placed it back in the dusty box where he had found it. He knew now that he didn't need it anymore. Life was about moving forward, not trying to rewrite the past. He had learned to appreciate the present and the choices that led him here. From that day on, Jack embraced each moment, knowing that every decision, big or small, was part of his unique story. He no longer wished for a time machine to fix his mistakes. Instead, he focused on making the most of the present and looking forward to the future with hope and determination. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on future content. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let us know what you think or what you'd like to see next. And if you want to stay connected, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks again for being part of our community, and we'll see you in the next video.